This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome to Too Good to Be True, and welcome everyone to the show. And of course, thank you to all the listeners. Are you ready for a really fascinating show about Roswell? Before we start getting into details, let's just briefly talk about psychic insight and how we apply it.
Yeah, we choose a subject, then research it. Based on that research, we determine what we think needs to be explained by creating a series of questions. Then Justina provides psychic insight to answer those questions. At the end of the process, we have psychic insight into a subject. At that point, it is a question of individual belief. Now, let's go through the disclaimers.
Here are the disclaimers. Neither of us claim to have any expertise in any subjects that we discuss. We relate information we find through research and the psychic insight. We are always delighted to hear from the listeners. The show only lasts an hour. We don't have time to present exhaustive research on any topic. This means that there will be information that we do miss. We want to provide a basis for the psychic insight. This is especially true for today's topic. There appears to be a vast amount written on the subject of Roswell, in particular by Stanton Friedman. We could never do justice to all that work. We don't care if a theory turns out too good to be true, as the show name suggests. We are only interested in finding out more of the truth about topics. Spirit can only relate insight that is appropriate for our time in history. Free will cannot be affected. Only comments that are appropriate for our time can be given through the psychic insight. Much of the subject matter in shows will have already been covered again and again in other shows. We want to look into subjects in a new, different way and be thought-provoking. We are not so good with pronouncing names, and we apologize for any names we do mispronounce. Today, we are going to discuss the events at Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. You chose the topic, Dad. Why Roswell?
Well, Roswell is the ultimate UFO story of all time. A flying saucer crashes and is reported to a local paper. If a flying saucer actually crashed and it wasn't swamp gas or a weather balloon, then it changes the world as we know it.
I don't think Roswell has any swamps, but I have heard about a weather balloon crashing into the Earth and getting mistaken for a crashed UFO. If it weren't a weather balloon, then it's very history-changing, isn't it?
Yes, and there appear to be many credible witnesses, including military personnel, who have given accounts of what they saw. Aside from the events at the time, there is also speculation of reverse engineering of extraterrestrial technology. Anyway, the original events could be out of a 1950s B-movie.
I will take your word for that. I know you love 50s diners. It may just have been a weather balloon, and we'll have to talk about something else for the last half of the show. You might have to think of a plan B as you chose the subject.
Yeah, there's plenty of material on Roswell. I don't think we'll need a plan B, but if we do, I can start talking about Rendlesham Forest, the English Roswell. Even if we're only a weather balloon, before the weather balloon story was broken, the newspaper articles will have to be explained. I will start with the front page of the Roswell Daily Record of July the 8th, 1947, as included in the Roswell Wikipedia article. The major headline is, RAAF captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell region. RAAF stands for Roswell Army Airfield. The subheadline is, no details of flying disc are revealed. Other front page articles include, Roswellians have different opinions on flying saucers, which I guess wouldn't be a surprise. Another headline is, American League wins All-Star game. So life went along as normal, but perhaps with comments like, how about them flying saucers, rather than how about them Yankees who win the World Series that year.
Well, let's get off the subject of baseball, unless a flying saucer actually lands at a ballpark. The Wikipedia article includes the following conclusion, and I quote, Roswell has been described as the world's most famous, most exhaustively investigated, and most thoroughly debunked UFO claim. The comment is attributed to B.D. Gildenberg, who apparently was a well-known skeptic. By the way, I don't think there's anything wrong with being skeptical until enough of the truth is revealed. Debunking implies a prejudiced approach where being a skeptic suggests going with the facts. Let's start with a sequence of events. The Christian Post provides a web page entitled Roswell UFO Incident Timeline, Details and Quick Facts.
Yeah, here are the events on the website paraphrased, and these may be a little bit difficult to follow, but I'll do my best. On July the 2nd, 1947, a rancher named Mac Brazel and other people report hearing a loud crash near Corona, New Mexico during the night. On July the 3rd, 1947, the next day, Mac Brazel finds strange crash debris. This debris was found on the Foster Ranch. On July the 5th, the day after, 1947, Mac Brazel hears about a $3,000 reward being offered for the debris of a crash flying saucer. Mac Brazel was interested in this reward. On July the 6th, 1947, Mac Brazel showed pieces of the wreckage of the supposed crash flying saucer to Chavez County Sheriff George Wilcox. Wilcox then called Roswell Army Airfield. He talked to Major Jesse Marcel, an intelligence officer. Major Marcel then drove to the sheriff's office to look at the debris.
It looks like we'll have to continue talking about this after the break here.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Hello, I'm Pete Marsh. With my daughter Justina, we will be presenting the new radio show, Too Good to Be True. If something seems too good to be true, it usually is. But with the help of Justina's amazing gifts, we're going to gain insight into questions that don't yet have complete answers. Have you wondered who built Stonehenge and for what reason? Why are crop circles found in the same region as Stonehenge and elsewhere? Are crop circles a hoax, or are they created with technologies that we have little knowledge of? Who built the pyramids in Egypt and also in other countries? How and why were they built? Was the Titanic switched with the Britannic as part of a gigantic insurance fraud, or for more insidious reasons? What caused the Tunguska event when trees were flattened over an 800 square mile area in Siberia? Will the new insights be too good to be true? Well, that will depend on what you are prepared to believe. Please join us as we start on this journey together. For more information on Too Good to Be True, visit www.xzbn.net.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
Welcome back to Too Good to Be True. And before the break, we were talking about Major Jesse Marcel, an intelligence officer, and how he was looking at the debris at the sheriff's office. Dad, can you continue with the series of events?
Sure. This was July the 6th of 1947, and the intelligence officer was at the sheriff's office, and his commanding officer, that's Jesse's commanding officer, William Blanchard, ordered the wreckage from the crash to be recovered. The wreckage was collected and brought to Blanchard's office and then was said to have flown to the 8th Air Force HQ in Fort Worth. From there, it was sent to Washington, supposedly. The following day, on July the 7th, more debris, Marshall had more debris, and between 1 and 2 a.m. in the morning, he showed his wife and his son the material. His son, Jesse Jr., later stated that the material had interesting properties to it. He said there were pink, purple, and lavender symbols along the center sections of some of the small metallic I-beams that were found in the debris that were shown to him.
I will continue with the series of events. On July 8th, information about the UFO crash was put on the Associated Press wire. Newspapers that reported on the supposed UFO crash were the evening papers from the Midwest to the West. These included the Chicago Daily News, the Los Angeles Herald Express, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Roswell Daily Record. Other newspapers the next morning only reported the so-called cover-up story and not this original story. These included the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Chicago Tribune. It was stated that one couple, Mr. and Mrs. Dan Wilmot, were the only ones that reported seeing some type of UFO or flying disc the night the crash occurred. They reported they were sitting on their porch at 105 South Penn Avenue at around 10 o'clock, and they saw a large glowing object. They said that this object zoomed in the sky from the southeast to the northwesterly direction. They said the object appeared to be traveling at high speeds. They also reported that the object was only visible for about 45 seconds, which would mean the ship was traveling between 400 and 500 miles per hour. Wilmot reported the details of what him and his wife saw minutes before the RAAF announced that they had in their possession a crashed object. Wilmot was reported as a generally reliable person.
Yeah, I'll continue. July the 9th of 1947, officers found Mac Brazel, that was the rancher, and it was alleged that they questioned him about the debris. He was taken by the military to the Roswell Daily Record office. Here he told us a much revised version of his original story. It was reported that officers also visited newspapers and radio offices in the town. Here they recovered copies of the original press release. Brazil also went to the radio station KGFL, where he also gave a revised version of his original story. The Roswell Daily Record then releases a second story with the new information. That's all there is in the timeline until 1970, but let's remain in 1947 for the time being.
The July 9th Roswell Daily Record had two articles related to the article of the previous day in the same newspaper as follows. General Ramey empties Roswell saucer, which continues, Ramey says excitement is not justified. General Ramey says disc is weather balloon. Harassed ranger who located saucer, sorry he told about it.
Yeah, let's look at the content of both articles. The first article states, and I quote, an examination by the Army revealed last night that mysterious objects found on a lonely New Mexico ranch were a harmless high-altitude weather balloon, not a grounded flying disc. Excitement was high until Brigadier General George M. Ramey, commander of the 8th Air Force with headquarters here, that's Fort Worth, Texas, cleared up the mystery.
The second article states, and I quote, Brazel said that he had previously found two weather observation balloons on the ranch, but that when he found this time did not in any way resemble either of these. I am sure that what I found was not any weather observation balloon, he said. But if I find anything else besides a bomb, they're going to have a hard time getting me to say anything about it.
So we have two opposing views, obviously, but what happens next? Not much until the 1970s, but back to the summary from the Christian Post of 1970. Jesse Marcel, that's Major Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer from Roswell Army Airfield, comes out to claim that the weather balloon announcement had been a cover-up and that the original UFO story was the real fact of the case. Then, according to the Roswell Wikipedia article, there is a period of growing interest from 1974 to 1994, and I quote, between 1978 and the early 1990s, UFO researchers such as Stanton T. Friedman, William Moore, Carl T. Flock, and a team of Kevin D. Randall and Donald R. Schmidt interviewed several hundred people who claimed to have had a connection with the events at Roswell in 1947. Hundreds of documents were obtained via Freedom of Information Act requests, along with other documents such as Majestic 12 that were supposedly leaked by insiders. Their conclusions were at least one alien spacecraft crashed near Roswell, alien bodies had been recovered, and a government cover-up of the incident had taken place. Stanton Friedman is a name I, of course, recognize. Friedman is probably the most instrumental in bringing the Roswell story to our attention in books and other media. Let's explain the reference to Majestic 12. Majestic 12 was allegedly a secret committee set up by President Truman after Roswell in 1947, made up of scientists, the military, and government officials to facilitate recovery and investigation of alien spacecraft. But we'll talk more about that later.
Stanton Friedman is a nuclear physicist, and according to his bio, and I quote, he is the original civilian investigator of the Roswell incident and co-authored Crash of Corona, the definite story of the Roswell incident. The bio continues. He has provided written testimony to congressional hearings, appeared twice at the United Nations, and has been a pioneer in many aspects of UFOlogy, including Roswell. I looked at the book Crash of Corona, and apparently there was a second Roswell crash site.
Yes, in the Huffington Post, I should say, Weird News, updated August the 7th, 2012, there's an account from retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Richard French, and here are some of the quotes in the article. There were actually two crashes at Roswell, which most people don't know. The first one was shot down by an experimental U.S. plane that was flying out of White Sands, New Mexico, and it shot what was effectively an electronic pulse-type weapon that disabled and took away all the controls of the UFO, and that's why it crashed. When they hit it with that electromagnetic pulse, bingo, there goes all their electronics, and consequently the UFO was uncontrollable. I'm a little skeptical here. I would have thought if UFOs could get to the Earth, they could deal with the bows and arrows relative to their technology. Also, electromagnetic pulse weapons, or EMPs, seem rather advanced from 1947. For the second crash, here are some quotes from French. It was within a few miles of where the original crash was. We think that the reason they were there at the time was to try and recover parts and any survivors of the first crash. I'm referring to the people from outer space, the guys whose UFO it was. I had seen photographs of parts of that UFO that had inscriptions on it that looked like it was in an Arabic language. It was like a part number on each one of them. There were photographs in a folder I just thumbed through. The location of the second crash, according to Stanton Friedman, was more than 200 miles away on the plains of San Agustin, west of Socorro.
This is obviously rather strange. Either people are making up stories or something remarkable happened. Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Richard French, in the same article, who served more than 27 years in the military. This included being an investigator and debunker for the Air Force's famous study of UFOs. This was known as Project Blue Book, which is stated as beginning in 1952, but started earlier under different names.
Yeah, before we discuss Project Blue Book, we need to get back to the incidents in Roswell and examine the weather balloon story more closely. Here is a description from Wikipedia regarding Project Mogul, which involved weather balloons in Roswell, and I quote, Project Mogul, sometimes referred to as Operation Mogul, was a top secret project by the U.S. Army Air Forces, involving microphones flown on high-altitude balloons, whose primary purposes was long-distance detection of sound waves generated by Soviet atomic bomb tests. The project was carried out from 1947 until early 1949. The project was moderately successful, but was very expensive, and was superseded by a network of seismic detectors and air sampling for fallout, which were cheaper, more reliable, and easier to deploy and operate.
Regarding Roswell, the article has specific content, and I quote, in the summer of 1947, a Project Mogul balloon crashed in the desert near Roswell, New Mexico. The subsequent military cover-up of the true nature of the balloon and burgeoning conspiracy theories from UFO enthusiasts led to a celebrated UFO incident. Unlike a weather balloon, the Project Mogul paraphernalia was massive and contained unusual types of materials, according to the research conducted by the New York Times. Squadrons of big balloons. It was like having an elephant in your backyard and hoping that no one would notice it. To the untrained eye, the reflectors looked extremely odd, a geometrical hash of lightweight sticks and sharp angles made of metal foil. Photographs of it, taken in 1947 and published in the newspapers, show bits and pieces of what are obviously collapsed balloons and radar reflectors.
Yeah, the Wikipedia article doesn't mention a second crash associated with Project Mogul. Getting back to UFOs rather than weather balloons, Project Blue Book, Unidentified Flying Objects, has a web page on the U.S. government's National Archives website where there is a link to the Roswell incident. Just as background, the project became the longest running of the U.S. government's official inquiries into UFO sightings, compiling reports of more than 12,000 sightings or related events. I don't think Project Blue Book reports a single confirmed UFO encounter. I will quote from the general information on the National Archives webpage. The United States Air Force retired to the custody of the National Archives its records on Project Blue Book related to the investigations of unidentified flying objects. Project Blue Book has been declassified and the records are available for examination in our research room. The project closed in 1969 and we have no information on sightings after that date. The general information continues regarding Majestic 12. The National Archives has received numerous inquiries concerning documents identified as MJ-12 and briefing document Operation Majestic 12. We have made extensive searches among the records in our custody of the U.S. Air Force and the Joint Chiefs of Staff to identify these documents. The general information concludes that there is no government record for Majestic 12, the secret committee allegedly set up in 1947 to facilitate recovery and investigation of alien spacecraft. What is the link to the Roswell incident, Justina?
Basically, it is a weather balloon statement. Here's the beginning of the content, and I quote, "The National Archives has been unable to locate any documentation among the Project Blue Book records which discuss the 1947 incident in Roswell, New Mexico, but we'll have to discuss this and more information after the break here."
Dreams are our personal gateways into infinite wisdom. Don't miss shamanic counselor and indigenously trained dream decoder Sandra Corcoran's inspiring book, Shamanic Awakening Between the Dark and the Daylight. This remarkable work chronicles Sandra's 35 years of experience with diverse wisdom keepers and her initiations throughout the Americas and across the British Isles, Turkey, Greece, and Egypt. Sandy's knowledge of symbology, psychology, and myth influence her dream blog and workshops. Sandy offers private tarot readings, international journeys, a meditative CD, as well as her book, Shamanic Awakening, to encourage you as you navigate this earth walk, creating a deeper connection to yourself and all that is. Find this and more at Sandy's website, starwalkervisions.com.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Mnemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created mnemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com.
Hello, I'm Justina Marsh, and with my dad Pete, we are going to present a new show called Too Good to Be True. Together, we are aiming to discover more truths about this world and beyond. Do you have unanswered questions about the world? Do you ever wonder about aliens, conspiracy theories, or the universe? There are many shows discussing subjects such as pyramids or UFOs, but we want to relay this information based on our own research, including from spiritual means. Hopefully, listeners will be helped with their own beliefs and will appreciate the psychic insights that add to the previous research and information. We both look forward to sharing this insight and beginning this journey with our listeners. Visit xzbn.net for more information about when to listen. Welcome back to Too Good to Be True. And before the break, I was quoting the weather balloon statement. And I think for purposes, I'll repeat this quote. So here's the beginning of the content. The National Archives has been unable to locate any documentation among the Project Blue Book records which discuss the 1947 incident in Roswell, New Mexico. And the statement also includes the following text, and again I quote, "The Air Force research did not locate or develop any information that the Roswell incident was a UFO event, nor was there any indication of a cover-up story by the government. Information obtained through exhaustive record searches were, and the interviews indicated that the materials recovered near Roswell were consistent with a balloon device of the type used in a then classified project. No records indicated or even hinted that the recovery of alien bodies or extraterrestrial materials." So the U.S. Air Force formally investigated UFO reports from 1947 to 1969, and they completely deny anything out of the ordinary occurring in Roswell in 1947. So there are denials of alien bodies or extraterrestrial materials. We haven't discussed any eyewitness accounts of alien bodies, but presumably the extraterrestrial materials relate to the wreckage rancher Mac Brazel reportedly he had found. This is in addition to the wreckage referred to by retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Richard French for the second crash. The government's version of the facts is quite straightforward, whereas the alternative version of the events is getting very complicated.
Yeah, we had mentioned Stanton Friedman earlier as probably one of the world's most famous UFO researchers, if not the most famous. His views are totally at odds with those of the U.S. government. Let's look at his work, starting with Majestic 12, the alleged secret UFO committee initiated by President Truman. Stanton dedicates 4 pages of his website just to that subject. He authored a book on the subject in 1996 after 21 years of research. For a brief synopsis, I defaulted to Wikipedia, and I quote, "The concept of Majestic 12 emerged during a period in the 1980s when ufologists believed there had been a cover-up of the Roswell UFO incident and had speculated some secret upper tier in the United States government was responsible. Their suppositions appeared to be confirmed in 1984 when ufologist Jamie Shandera received an envelope containing film which, when developed, showed images of 8 pages of documents that appeared to be briefing papers describing Operation Majestic 12. The documents purported to reveal a secret committee of 12 supposedly authorized by United States President Harry S. Truman in 1952 and explain how the crash of an alien spacecraft at Roswell in 1947 had been concealed, how the recovered alien technology could be exploited, and how the United States should engage with extraterrestrial life in future." The article continues and later states, and I again quote, "Claiming to be connected to the United States Air Force Office of Special Investigations, a man named Richard Doty told filmmaker Linda Moulton Howe that the MJ-12 story was true and showed how unspecified documents purporting to prove the existence of small gray humanoid aliens originating from the Zeta Reticuli star system. Doty reportedly promised to supply Howe with film footage of UFOs and an interview with an alien being, although no footage ever materialized. A final excerpt is as follows, and I'll quote again. Ufologists Linda Moulton Howe and Stanton T. Friedman believe the MJ-12 documents are authentic. Friedman examined the documents and has argued that the United States government has conspired to cover up knowledge of a crashed extraterrestrial spacecraft. We hadn't mentioned Linda Moulton Howe's name, but like Stanton Friedman, is a famous ufologist as well as a noted journalist and filmmaker.
Just a minute. Did one quote say small, gray, humanoid aliens originating from the Zeta Reticuli star system? I think it might be a good idea to just focus on the possibility that alive or dead extraterrestrials beings were found in the crash site, or was there 2 crash sites? There appears to be a lack of clear facts. I did find a website, exopolitics.org, where from 2015, Dr. Michael Salla reports on an event in Mexico City, and I quote, "On May 5th, 2015, 2 photographic slides were publicly released at an exclusive live streaming event in Mexico City's National Auditorium, showing an alleged extraterrestrial body retrieved from the 1947 Roswell UFO crash. The photos were taken on a Kodachrome film by Bernard A. Ray, a former oil exploration geologist, and they were stored in his attic for over 50 years before being found in 1998 after his death. The Mexico City event was organized by Tercer Milenio, a highly popular Mexican television program, and attracted world attention with advance notice by Burton's Express and Mirror newspapers on Monday. Among the film videos of witnesses presented was a former U.S. Army serviceman who was present during the Roswell UFO crash incident. He claims to have witnessed alien bodies retrieved from the Roswell crash and said that the 2 photos were very close and very, very much what I saw."
Yeah, I'll continue the quote. The first slide shows what appears to be an alien body lying horizontally on a glass shelf in a display of some kind. The being is approximately 4 feet tall with a small mouth, large eyes, enlarged skull, with thin arms, legs, and torso. Its internal organs have been removed, suggesting the photo was taken after an autopsy. The Mexico City event featured the analysis of several medical and photographic experts. Among them was Dr. Richard Doble, a former Canadian academic and forensic pathology consultant with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, who said that the being at first glance appears like a deformed human. At closer examination, however, he pointed out the being is clearly not a human being, since it only had 4 pairs of ribs rather than 12 in a normal human being. He also said that the bone structure of the feet and hands were also very different to a human, along with a number of other significant anatomical differences. The film testimony of Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the Apollo 14 astronaut, was also shown. After viewing the 2 photos, he said they are consistent with what he had been told about the extraterrestrials found at the Roswell UFO crash by first-hand witnesses who had confidentially told him what they had seen.
I think that's enough information about the bodies, and I think it's time to change the subject. We haven't talked much about the alleged wreckage. At the first crash, Major Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer who we had mentioned earlier, claimed that amongst the wreckage, spread out wide, they were I-beams with strange lettering, plus metallic foil. This metallic foil wouldn't burn and seemed to be indestructible. Wreckage at the second crash site appeared to have been gathered up immediately by the authorities, according to retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Richard French, who we had also mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I think we need the psychic insight to make sense of all of this. Even if there were no crash flying saucers, why were those headlines in the papers in July of 1947? Why did the government set up Project Blue Book to establish whether UFOs were a security threat and to scientifically analyze UFO data? So I will start the questions. What happened during the night of July the 2nd, 1947, when a loud crash was heard near Corona, New Mexico?
That was an object crashing into the ground, where even with the object, you could hear the crash because it was larger and then crash into the earth.
Was the object a UFO or a weather balloon?
It was not a UFO. It was, you could call it, a weather balloon. It was more advanced technology than a weather balloon normally is. It was created by people here on Earth.
On July the 3rd, 1947, did Mac Brazel find wreckage from a UFO or was it from a weather balloon?
So again, this was not a UFO. It looked like a UFO since it was more advanced than most weather balloons look like. But yes, you could describe it as a weather balloon. It was actually not being used like most weather balloons are being used, so the technology looked very different.
What wreckage did the military police take back to the Roswell Air Force field?
So, this was a wreckage, if you want to call it a weather balloon. But the technology is much more advanced than the government was releasing. So they had to take the wreckage back, so the public did not know about this advanced technology.
Who informed the newspaper about the crashed flying saucer for the July 8th edition?
The eyewitnesses.
How did the story get out, assuming that the military would want to suppress it?
So you can think of this as a game of telephone, where one eyewitness tells another eyewitness that tells another eyewitness, and the information basically enlarges. So also the information about the advanced technology was not being released to the public. So it was easier to allow the story of the UFO to travel instead of admitting to have this more advanced technology. So this goes back to it being like a game of telephone, where the witness told another witness who told another witness. And since this is a small town, the news spread like wildfire. So basically what happened was the story became bigger than what it was. Also, the military wanted it to seem like they did not have this more advanced technology, so they did not mind too much that it was said to be a UFO, since it covered up the more advanced technology they were using.
What did Mr. and Mrs. Dan Wilmot see from their porch on July the 2nd, the night of the alleged crash?
They saw this supposed, you can call it a weather balloon for these purposes, but this advanced technology crashing.
What was the advanced technology?
Basically, you can say it's more sensitive to weather and different things on the planet. It could not only monitor weather, but also people in a way. It had special sensors for the weather.
In the July 9th, 1947 newspapers, Brigadier General Roger M. Ramey was reported as denying that a UFO had crashed and stated it was a weather balloon. Why did he issue this denial?
Again, this goes back to covering it up and calling it a weather balloon rather than explaining why it crashed and that it had more advanced technology. It was easier to say, oh yeah, it was a weather balloon.
Why did renewed interest in the incident occur from 1978 onwards?
Again, it's a very small town, and they have had some instances where they see strange things in the sky because of the different technology being tested. It goes back to people sharing the stories, and it's very interesting when people share stories like this. So this is where the new interest comes from.
Was Majestic 12 a reality, or was it a made-up story?
Made-up story.
What caused the weather balloon to crash?
Basically, it had an issue with its circuits that caused a fire that caused it to crash.
Was there a second crash?
Yes.
Where was the second crash located?
In approximately the same area.
What caused the second crash? Was it shot down by the military or some other organization?
Yes and no. This was different technology, so the technology was different. So you can think of it being as Generation 2. We'll finish this after the break here.
Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today, www.soulbalancing.world. There's a legend shared by many indigenous cultures of a time when the nations were cast to the 4 corners of the world. Each nation was given a body of sacred knowledge that held a different portion of the truth to preserve. True reality could not be known until all the nations reunited, combining the information. If a single one was missing, the world could not be reborn and darkness would prevail. The Science of Magic Radio is dedicated to reuniting the sacred knowledge. With the understanding, none of us has all the answers, but together we can open new perceptions and possibilities. Through our combined vision, the world can be reborn into a place where darkness no longer prevails. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic daily on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net, or visit us at thescienceofmagic.net.
Welcome back to Too Good to Be True. And before the break, we were discussing the different questions in the psychic insight. So, Dad, do you want to repeat the question about what caused the second crash? And we'll repeat the answer too.
Yeah, I'll just repeat the question. What caused the second crash? Was it shot down by the military or some other organization?
Yes and no. There was different technology, so the technology was different. So you could think of it as Generation 2. But in this crash, they had issues keeping control and contact with the balloon, and then it went down.
Did Project Blue Book, the U.S. Air Force's study of UFOs, find any evidence of UFOs or beings from other planets besides Roswell?
Yes, they had found evidence of beings from other planets in the past.
So they covered it up?
Yes.
How many UFOs visit this planet in a given year?
A lot, since you do not only travel to planet, but also dimension to dimension.
Why did the Air Force suppress evidence of UFO sightings or the presence of extraterrestrial beings?
1, it is so these beings do not make contact. As you know, when you are aware of something, it is easier to make contact. So if the beings were confirmed, this information is not for the general public. If the general public knew about the UFOs, then this would also prove more advanced technology and advancements could be made. So basically, it's suppressing the knowledge of it, and denying it is easier than just presenting a UFO to the general public.
Are there men in black like those movies portray that cover up the existence of extraterrestrial beings?
Yes.
Were the Majestic 12 documents as reported by Stanton Friedman authentic?
Yes. Yes, they were used as a cover-up, so they were authentic, but not true.
Were bodies of small grey humanoid aliens originating from the Zeta Reticuli star system found at one of the crash sites?
No.
For the Mexico event, were the pictures presented authentic?
No.
The authentic documents, as reported by Stanton Friedman as being from Majestic 12, where did they come from?
So it was basically a cover-up story. They did come from the military as documents they put that are more accessible, that did not require the access that the advanced technology documents had. So it's basically something they could put as a placeholder in the files.
Is there a secret organization that deals with extraterrestrial encounters that is not Majestic 12?
Yes.
Were fake Majestic 12 documents created just to confuse the public?
Yes.
Where did all the conjecture about bodies being found come from?
So basically, people expanded on the story. So they saw the different debris being carried out, and they basically assumed that there was different bodies. So one person would look at it, and it would look like a body, but it was not. So you can think of it as the human mind wanting to fill in what it wants to see instead of exactly what is there.
Just because the assumed UFO wreckage was actually advanced technology from this planet, are researchers such as Stanton Friedman, Linda Moulton Howe, or Michael Salla generally on the right track regarding extraterrestrial beings and the existence of secret human advanced technology, much more advanced than we could imagine?
Yes, so this advanced technology sometimes comes from other beings, but sometimes comes from this Earth. So it gets tricky when you call something a UFO, since it isn't always from different life forms, but sometimes from this planet. So when you see a UFO, it may be from this planet and sometimes not. So this is where it gets tricky and the misunderstandings happen.
What were the markings on the I-beams in the wreckage? They are described as looking extraterrestrial.
So these are the different circuitry and different sensors in this advanced technology. You may think that when looking at it, that is based off different geometric shapes and writing, but this is actually how the different circuitry works. When you think of circuits, you usually think of them in a square formation, but the different sensors and different technology actually works better in triangles and different shapes. But yes, it looks like writing, but in this case, it's actually how the different technology is formed.
What was the metal foil that was indestructible? Is it like a shape memory alloy?
In a way, yes. It is self-healing. So basically, it has many different... Let's just use an example. If you try to rip it, it automatically heals itself. That's why it can't be destructed, because it's self-healing. It is made out of nanoparticles that basically bind together, and you can think of it in a way like a human skin where it heals itself.
Okay, is the explanation that two crashed objects were highly advanced made on planet Earth too good to be true?
That depends on what you are prepared to believe.
Okay, I'll try and give a high-level summary of the psychic insight. The happenings at Roswell make for a more compelling story than just weather balloons. Okay, for the first crash, the wreckage appeared to be extraterrestrial to civilian observers, and a reasonable conclusion was that it was wreckage from a crashed UFO. I guess I'm putting a little bit of my spin on that. Devices from both crashes were terrestrial in origin. The crashing object that Mr. and Mrs. Dan Wilmot saw from their porch on July the 2nd, 1947, moving at a high rate of speed, was an advanced technology object and not a conventional weather balloon. The newspaper reports of a crash UFO were a convenient cover-up for wreckage with advanced technology being found. After the story broke, the official denial that a UFO had been involved and that a crash had been a weather balloon. Sorry, I'll say that again. After the story broke, the official denial that a UFO had been involved and the crash had been a weather balloon provided for a cover story that was difficult to disprove, especially as there had been a reward for wreckage from the first crash and all that wreckage had been gathered up. There was a second crash involving a more advanced device than the device in the first crash and occurred because of loss of communication and control. Note, eyewitnesses suggest that the only military saw the wreckage. Sorry, I'll say that again. Note, eyewitnesses suggest that only the military saw the wreckage from the second crash. There were no bodies involved in either crash. There are men in black operatives that cover up the existence of extraterrestrial beings on this planet. The creation of the Majestic 12 Committee was a made-up story. Project Blue Book, following its purpose, found evidence of extraterrestrial beings, but did not report any such evidence, thus denying the existence of extraterrestrials. Researchers such as Stanton Friedman, Linda Moulton Howe, and Michael Seller are on the right track regarding their researches into extraterrestrial beings and the existence of secret advanced human technology. The markings on I-beams and wreckage reported as being Arab-like in an Arab-like language were not markings but were advanced electronic circuitry. There were similar I-beams described from both crashes. The indestructible foil-like material found amongst the wreckage of the first crash was a self-healing alloy constructed of nanoparticles. Many extraterrestrial craft visit the planet every year, as not only do they travel from planet to planet, but they all can travel interdimensionally. Regarding nanoparticles, these are particles between 10 to the minus 9 and 10 to the minus 7 meters in diameter, which translates into a few atoms up to a few hundreds of atoms in diameter. And the term nanoparticle was not in scientific use until the 1970s.
So you are the engineer, Dad. What do you think of the advanced circuitry and the self-healing nanoparticle material?
Well, thanks for putting me on the spot. In the 1940s, I would have expected electronic device to consist of vacuum tubes, hefty transformers wound with thick copper wire, as well as sheet metal and bakelite. Bakelite was an early plastic that gave off an odor when it got hot. The circuitry described appears to be many years ahead of what was known publicly in 2017. The same goes for the self-healing nanoparticle material. That type of technology for conventional use appears to be way off into the future.
I am more perplexed that the advanced technology that could be very beneficial is actually being kept from the public. This raises so many questions about technology and possible advances in this technology. Think of the advancements we don't know about since the 1947, when this case, and probably cannot even imagine. And I also want to take this opportunity to also tell the listeners that we want to hear what you think about this information and your personal beliefs. So you can go to xzbn.net and you can email us there about what you think and also subjects for future shows. So we would really like to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm just going to mention a Stanton Friedman comment if I got time. He said that some UFOs are flying saucers, but not all UFOs are flying saucers. So I think the idea that there are extraterrestrial craft and also terrestrial craft that are beyond our imagination is well taken. I think this has been fascinating because going into this, the advanced technology that we didn't know about, foils with made of nanoparticles, was something I didn't ever imagine was going to come to be reported in this way. So what do you think of that, Justina?
Well, I think that this has many other questions that were also raised about the whole situation. And I think we got some of the questions answered, but there's still so many different questions that could be brought up about clarification, about the series of events, the different people involved. And it's strange because many people do believe UFOs or flying saucers, believe that exists. But the idea that part of the human race actually has more advanced technology that actually could be doing more is actually very strange. And there's probably a lot of information that we don't know still.
Yeah. And I think cramming all this into 1 hour was a little bit of a bridge too far. Maybe we need another show on the subject because it was a tremendous amount of information.